Okay, so I think if we can start, maybe Adele, if you can just tell us a bit more from the high school perspective, grade 8 to 12, how the classes look, etc., while we wait for the questions to come in.
Okay, hi everybody. Um, as you heard, I'm the coordinator for the high school. We have qualified, very qualified teachers that assist students in contact time from grade 8 to 12, grade 12 on a constant interval or sessions during the week. We have different sessions for each subject. So some of the subjects have 3 contact sessions with teachers, while others only have 1 or 2, depending on the timetable. So we have a fixed timetable with a fixed time slot that we have contact sessions with our teachers. In these contact sessions, teachers will work through specific content or topics that they pick from the syllabus. Hence that we have, we do not cover the whole syllabus. So we pick topics that we feel students struggle with or that are important for exam purposes, and then we cover these in classes. Our lessons are recorded and made available to our registered students online on our platform, and so they can watch it afterwards if they do not attend the live classes. We have the teachers that are qualified enough so that they can attend to support for learners via the email portal that we have. So students have like an online support system with our teachers. And what makes our live classes nice is the fact that we have a virtual but yet a human interaction with our learners, our students, so that the students can feel comfortable asking these teachers different kinds of questions in the different subjects. Thanks, Rosie.
Thank you, Adele. Yes, we try to, like you said, engage during the classes, so it's not just the one-way communication. Okay, Colleen, you said that there are a few questions that you would like to answer that Monique and Cheryl Lee asked on the Q&A.
Yes, indeed, and welcome to everybody. It's rather cold. I see some say that Centurion is rather cold as well. It's dreary out here. I hope you're not going to freeze too much. Okay, let's do a few examples. And Gerda can back me up on this one, I hope. If you allow me to share screen, Rosie, you should be able to see now a few excerpts from our grade 2 curriculum. It says grade 1 pupils to get a weekly or daily layout. Now grade 1, 2, and 3 look very similar to this one. I just used this as an example. And as you can see at the top, it says module 6, week 6, day 1. Now that means that as you page through that day, there are specific worksheets, and I'm going to slowly scroll down, and as you can see, those are items that they can do for that day. Mostly quite colorful, filled with pictures, and quite a lot of fun to do. So this little one would need the guidance of the parent, and I think that's important to note. I have seen over the past 2-3 weeks that parents in home education actually look for the screen as a replacement. Now, Gerda, I know Gerda is as passionate as I am about it, that one can never replace a screen with a proper person. And in this case, the mom or the dad or the aunt or the uncle, or whoever does home education at this point in time. So this is what a grade 2 typically in one day would do. Now, does that mean that if I am not in week 6 and on day 1, I am behind? No, it doesn't mean that. It only means that this is a guidance and it gives you an idea of where you should be in the academic calendar. So I hope, Monique, that I've answered that question. Then Shirley asks, which app or website do I get my daily online classes? Surely we give each learner a specific learner profile on a website called brainonline.com. It has a secure username and a password, and that is where you find everything that you need. Our communication with you as a parent, our communication with the student if they're a little bit older, and everything else, including the virtual classes. But to just extend that answer a little bit, on that specific website, you will find a link And the link will take you to the application very similar to this one. We use Zoom at the moment. We might change, but for the current time being, we find Zoom to be quite stable. The sound and the audio is quite nice. So we like the quality of Zoom as an application. And therefore, if you click on that link, what happens is it takes you into that class on a specific day at a specific time. Louise asked, and I think, Gerda, I'm going to hand over to you. For grade 2 and grade 5, Louise asked, do you have live classes for grade 2 and grade 5?
Hi, Louise. Yes, we do for grade 5, not for grade 2, more for the parents of the grade 2 learners. So in the primary school, we focus on assisting the parent to assist the learner. I had a live class this morning. It was an Afrikaans first editional class, and it's rather difficult because you have to engage with the learners and get their response. So response via Zoom in a class activity, everybody is speaking at the same time. So that kind of can be disruptive. And so we have live classes for grade 4 to 7 in Afrikaans, English and Maths. And then we assist the parents from grade 1 to grade 7. And we have pre-recorded maths lessons on different topics, because it's actually the maths that's the most problematic for the parents in the junior school. The other stuff they kind of managed, and it's very easily laid out in our material, and we have teachers' guides that explains it to the teacher. You as parent very good, and you will understand that. So yeah, we have for grade 4 to 7 in the languages to sum it all up, and maths, but not for the little ones. We don't have online classes. We have on a Monday morning, they come together and they do some counting, say hello to the teacher, do rhymes, listen to a story, and interact with each other, but not official formal classes for grade 1 to 3.
Thanks, Gerda. If I may continue, Rosie, on to NJ De Lange's question. How is it possible to show what grade 10 lessons and video looks like? I'm not sure if it's Mr. or Mrs. De Lange. What I'm going to quickly do is show you a very short clip, which is going to run just for a few seconds quickly on a summary of what the classes look like.
At Brainline, we have never been afraid to push the boundaries of education to provide the best service to our clients. Our cloud school is only one method of reaching out to clients. Interactive classes meet the students' needs. Come and join us and step into the future with Brainline.
All right, that's a very, very short version of what our classes looks like. At least you can see that at the top, you're able to see the face of the teacher. You're able to see different kinds of presentations that we use. We use PowerPoint, we use physical writing, we use photographs, we use little video clips, whatever is good and applicable for that kind of class in that specific environment or in that kind of subject. So we use everything to engage the learners as fruitfully as we possibly can. I hope I was able to answer that question. Then I would like to continue with the same person asking in grade 10 to 12, how much parental involvement is applicable? Mr. or Mrs. De Lange, it is important, even though the grade 10, 11s and 12s are quite grown, they are young adults. Us not being aware, us not being active, us not participating really can put those little ones, not that little anymore, in danger of feeling that they are not, you are not interested in them. You're not concerned with what they do and when they do that. And on the other hand, if you ask them the question, do you understand? They will always reply, yes, we do understand. Nee, ek verstaan, dit gaan met my goed. So it's important that you keep your thumb on everything, but yes, they can work on their own and they should work on their own, because that is what's going to happen after school. In tertiary studies, you depend on yourself. You've got to be self-driven. You've got to be self-disciplined. So you do have, in a supervisory role, one has to remain active and not leave them all by themselves. And also be careful with, if they do not understand something, if you're involved in their work, you can quickly pinpoint if they do understand something or if they don't understand something. All right, that's from my side. Over to you, Rosie.
Yes, I see Adele tagged a few questions that she would like to answer live. Adele?
Yes, I'm going to start with Soraya Daniel's question on what we cover in our classes. So we try and cover as much as possible. So we want to do it 100% of the syllabus, but unfortunately we don't see students as often as we would like as in a normal school. So in a normal school, you'll find that the maths teacher, for example, will see the class every day for a 6-day period. But for online school, you see them 3 to 4 times a week due to the vast majority of students that we have and the fact that we have lots of subjects to cover and there's only limited time in the day. So our lessons are 45 minutes long, and in those lessons, we cover most of the work for a specific chapter or topic. Unfortunately, we can't do hundreds of examples like normal teacher would do in class. So as a normal teacher would spend like a week on a topic, we spend 1 or 2 lessons on it, try and condense and summarize for the student. They still need to summarize and work on their own as well and do all the exercises. So from a maths perspective, we try and cover as much as possible, but unfortunately we can't cover 100% of the syllabus due to the fact that we have a time limitation. And then also the other question I want to answer is the one of Nicolette Augustine for the grade 8 one. I will recommend that they do attend live lessons, as this gives the student opportunity to interact with the teacher live. So they can instantly ask the teacher if they see something that they do not understand or not sure about, or ask the teacher to explain something else or give another example. When they do it in a recording afterwards, they still do have the opportunity to ask the teacher the same type of question, but it is in a delayed time frame, if I can explain it like that. So they'll have to wait like a day before they can get their answer. Whereas attending a live class, they can ask them directly in that moment and in that space. Sometimes we find that grade 8 and 9 students, they tend to forget what they wanted to ask when they watch the recording, and then they have to wait or redo again to see what they do. So we do recommend attending live classes, and also for the retention. So if they see it live quickly, then they can learn easily. Thanks, Rosie.
Okay, thank you, Adele. While you're there, I see Liesel asks a question. Are you open to accept new learners mid-year not wanting to return to school after lockdown, grade 8, or do you recommend completing the year and moving over to Brainline next year? I think if you can just explain to Liesel how the exemptions work for students joining at this point of the year.
Yeah, sure. So what we currently do is all grade 8 to 12 students that join us now during May and June, we're obviously not going to force them to write the mid-year exams that we're busy with. Our exam timetable is halfway through and we finish next Friday and then our FL recess. So we exempt grade 8 to 12 students for the exams and tasks and tests that they needed to do during cycle 2. But unfortunately on grade 12 level, we do have to catch up on assessments done at a later stage during cycle 3 because we need those assessments for the SBA mark towards the IB. So we do give exemption for students now, especially grade 8 and 9s. We do not want to add to their stress levels for the change that they're doing and the amount of work that they need to cover. Sometimes it do happen that if they would come over from a departmental school, public school, that the work and syllabus might slightly differ from what we do, so the order is different. And sometimes the topics are more advanced and more elaborated in IB. So we do grant exemption, and then they can catch up on the work at their own time and be ready for the final exam. Rosie, maybe I can just add to that to put parents at ease that SBA marks is a continuous assessment, meaning that a student is not passed or failed on their SBA marks. There's a big final exam in November that counts a lot of marks towards their final promotion mark. And in lots of the subjects, it's 75% for the final exam, which means that small percentage of the SBA is not worth stressing over and let the student catch up on everything. So we have to put the focus on a continuous assessment for the student. So they do not need to have marks during the year, as long as they can follow up on all the theory done and the work that they've missed and prepare in full for the final exams. Thanks, Rosie.
Okay, thank you, Adele. Then Shirley, I'm not sure if we've answered your question where you asked that whether you'll be able to access Cycle 1 and 2's online lessons. Like Adele said, that they are recorded under the classes banner on Brain Online for a learner to go back and revise as they need. Okay, Gerda, I see there are quite a few questions on grade 1 to 3. SJ Zono, how are the grade 1 kids assessed and at what intervals are assessment reports given out? And there's a few others, but I think if we can start with that one and continue from there.
Okay, we assess, there's an opportunity for grade 1 to 3 learners to be assessed twice a year. So that will be May, June, and October, November. So we have a little booklet that the assessment is in a book form that you download it from Brain Online. The learner has 2 weeks to complete it. And now during lockdown, usually they post it. The assessment, completed assessments were delivered to our offices via courier, or parents used Postnet to get it to us. However, now during lockdown, we have attempted, we will see how it goes now when we mark, attempted the upload process for grade 1 to 3 as well. So you download the assessment. This is how it worked now in June. You downloaded the assessment. It was completed, scanned, and uploaded onto our platform. And then from Monday, we will be downloading that assessment and the markers will start marking. And then when the school starts in July, mid of July, we will have the reports available also on our Brain Online platform. And then you also upload, if reading, all the orals and reading are uploaded. You make a video and you also upload those, and we mark the videos as well. So yeah, twice a year, it's not compulsory. You may decide to do it or not to do it. Parents tend to not do the June assessment. There's a few doing the June assessment, but the June assessment doesn't influence the last one in November. So it's 2 individual assessments. That's why parents that were enrolling now, we advise them not to do the June assessment. So the learner won't get a report, but they can do it at the end of the year without being penalized. And with our lesson material, there are some self-assessment that can be done to do a baseline assessment on your child and see if there are some sections that they need some more attention on. And then I also saw another question about grade 6 and how the assessment is being done in grade 4 to 7. There we have tasks and tests or exam series in term 1 to 4, we call it cycles. So we have a task and test in cycle 1, 2, and 3, and only an exam at the end of the year. And it works exactly the same. Download the test or the task, complete it, and upload it again. Our markers mark it, and we make the marked file as well as the mark available on Brain Online and the memo. So you can see how it was marked, where did the learner go wrong, and then are able to correct that as well. Yeah, I think that answers those questions.
Yes, Gerda, the one question that I do see on grade 4 to 7 is a question of how often are the classes and on which subjects do the classes focus. Yes, if you can please just touch on that for us.
Okay, we have classes for grade 4 to 7 in the languages and maths, because the parent should be very much involved in the junior school learner's life. We try to rather assist the parent to assist the child. So what I see when we are having these classes, that the parent is sitting next to the learners and they are helping them to understand. And most of them make use of the pre-recorded lessons or the recorded ones, and they view it afterwards with the child, because they can pause, they can go back, they can pause 10 times if they wish to do that until the learner grasps the idea. So it's not as regular as the high school. It's basically in the languages, we have an exam prep for the exam, but in the maths, we focus on certain topics.
And there's a question about the science as a subject and the classes. Am I correct in saying that they are not regular for science, but
No.
you will have some for cycle 3?
If there's a certain topic that the learners, I can take for, let's take example, in geography, the learners battled with map work in the beginning of the year. So we had a class on map work. So we can target certain topics that parents and learners struggle with. But it's not going to be once a week, definitely once a week, we target certain topics.
Okay, thank you, Gerda. Colleen, there are a few questions that you wanted to answer.
Yes, I went for all the nice questions and I said, mine. So I'm going to start at the top and I'm going to choose the ones that I quickly from the top and see how best I can do most. Okay, let's see. Leon says, currently consider enrolling our son grade 8 for e-school. Man, I like that word, e-school. Rosie, there's a nice word, e-school. Leon, we're going to borrow, use, and abuse that word. What a good word that is. Any advice on how to deal with social interaction, which is part of the growth in normal schools? Leon, the girl sitting next to me on my screen, Rosa Marie, is also my eldest daughter. And she can, from own experience, tell you what her social interaction was and still is. She actually never went to school other than for grade 1 at the beginning of her school year. She completed matric all by herself. Now, she's a musician. She plays classical guitar. These days, very little. I've got to speak to her about that. She's also a very, very active sports enthusiast. She does CrossFit these days, but she started her sporting career with artistic gymnastics. So that was all part of her social interaction. I don't think any one of my 2 daughters missed out on anything. They had all their birthday parties and social interactions, because it's such an illusion that home education is actually school within a home, all doors and windows closed and locked. That does not work that way. Home education is actually where school is at, because that is keeping the child within the community and being active part of the community. So Leon, there is an active product of home education right here in our forum to speak to you. So I would like you to ask her as many questions as you would like, and go for it. And she'll be able to answer you, I think, from own experience. All right, so I'm always glad to be able to do that and do it with pride. All right, let's see to the next one. Please highlight about the class lesson and books for grade R. Devang, this is one that I'd love to show you if you would like to allow me. I'm going to again quickly share screen for you. Devang, you will see this is an example of our grade R work, and it is such fun to do for these little ones. Because now it gives you, you can see at the top, we do grade R 1, 2, and 3 theme-based. In other words, we don't do English and then we do maths and then we do physical science. We do it according to a theme. And as you can see, this particular theme is me, my family, neighbors, and friends. And this is what the little grade R1 would do. That's an exercise. Let the learners listen to the following dialogue. And then that is the dialogue that you would read between grandpa and everybody else. That is what you would read for the little grade R student. And then it goes on, and now there are nice and fun stuff to do. Let us learn the first months of the year to the tune of the well-known New Year song of the Cape Minstrels. Now that song, I'm not going to try and sing it, Gerda. I'm going to, or shall we all try and sing it? January, February, March? Okay, now I've done my worst with singing. And that is where the song is. And there are acts that they need to do within that song, and it's fun stuff to do. So it gives instructions to the parents as to nice activities that the young ones can do. And that's an example of our grade R curriculum. Right, Devang, I think I've done that one. Louis is asking, can we get additional support if my kids struggle with change over to homeschool? Louis, yes, we have a wonderful mentor program. She's not on the forum this morning. We do relieve each other with attending to the queries of parents. It is Mrs. Liesel Brivard. What she does is she attends to all sorts of things. If your child has anxiety issues or depression issues or ADHD or might need accommodations such as a reader or a scribe, then our mentor program is there to help you with that one. Paul is asking, if a grade 10 student joins the curriculum now, can they complete grade 10 this year? Yes, Paul, absolutely they can. They can start at the beginning of term 3. What we do is, and I think Adele touched on it a little bit earlier, we exempt the students from term 1 and term 2, and then they start at the beginning of term 3. Only where there are compulsory items, such as an oral, would they need to catch up on those, but those are few and far between, especially for grade 10. So yes, Paul, you are most welcome, and we are most happy to have those students with us. We do our best to accommodate them everywhere. Then Rowan has quite a few good questions. He says, my daughter is currently in grade 11 at full-time school and using the CAPS curriculum. Would we need to purchase all new textbooks and materials for the remainder of the year? Rowan, yes and no. We have a suggested book list, but we have found that the publishers do differ. Via Africa may differ from Pearson's publications, so we're not quite sure which books were prescribed at your school or which books you used at your school, but you are welcome to use them and start with them. However, you will see that you will need to be slightly more careful because the order of things as they are covered in the textbooks might differ. And you might need to maybe rummage around in the books that you have to find the aspects that we cover in a particular term. But in theory, you're most welcome to use those books as well. Shirley asks, do I get my homework on the video class or do I get it separate? Shirley, I'm not sure if you're a student or a parent. If you're a student, we don't even know the word homework. We don't know how to spell it. We don't use it. We don't know what it means. We don't have the definition of it. If you're a parent, Shirley, you are very welcome to notice that you are not going to work in the afternoons. Adele, what is that finger for?
Sorry, I want to throw the spanner in the wheel here. So I'm a mathematician and I like to complicate things. So I know Colleen doesn't like the word homework, but unfortunately for mathematics, you will get some kind of exercise because the more you do it, the more you get it and the more you know it and the less you need to learn. So for mathematics, we do give a little bit of homework for the high school kids, especially grade 8 and 9s, because the better you do in grade 8 and 9, the better you'll achieve in grade 10 and 11 and 12. So normally what we do for mathematics in the high school is we give some questions from the textbook by a page number or something, and we ask you to go and practice them. And we don't mark it or check on it or anything. thing. But if the learner is into doing good in the subject, they can do it and then send it to the teacher, and the teacher can give you feedback. So what I normally do is I write down like a question or a surprise question or a number or whatever at the end of the lesson, and the students can mail me the answer. And surprisingly, students like homework. So I know for homeschooling, homework is not in your vocabulary, but sometimes homework is nice and it's healthy for students. So depending on the subject. Thanks, Colleen.
Just mathematics to always spoil the day. Okay, now Adele, you've got a very good point. Doing mathematics is riding a bicycle. The more we do it, the better we get at it. Right, next question, Mrs. Lange. With what I perceive is practical subjects like consumers and agricultural science, EGD, how is the practical part covered? That's a wonderful question. There are actually quite a few subjects that does have a practical component, such as visual arts and consumers. And because we are working with distance education students, we manage it slightly different to what a school does. Now, let's talk about visual arts. You will find that visual arts, our communication, and our teacher is Evan Antonites. He communicates with his students not only on WhatsApp, but also on the Brain Online forum, almost on a daily basis. So they converse with each other quite a bit more than the other subjects actually do, because they are in contact with each other with regard to the projects that they do, with regard to the visual diary that they do. And in the end, our grade 12s have to come to one of our centers and they have to exhibit their artwork. And that's always wonderful to see. And I'm astounded every year by the quality of the work that these students submit. For EGD, engineering, graphics, and design, you will find that doesn't really create an issue in distance education. They hand in the different phases of their practical work, and that works very well. Their communication is per standard, but they have to hand in the practical components, which are compulsory for EGD and counts for 25% for that matter. Consumer studies, you will find that we bring the students to our centers. The lockdown has now made stuff rather difficult for us, but regardless, we hope that we will be able to, in September, bring our students to our centers for those practicals, and they have to be prepared, unfortunately or fortunately, to travel for that practical component. That's quite important. That is with regard to the practicals. Lawrence Dreyer, also, how would the assessment of a progress work? Lawrence, that depends on the grade and also depends on the subject. For the smaller grades, you will find that the progress of her work is measured by us externally via the tasks and assignments and the tests and the exams. And that is the same for the higher grades. So, but not everything that you do have to be returned to us. For instance, your learner book contains a lot of activities. We don't require those activities, which is also formative assessment throughout the year. We don't require those to be returned to us. So it's important that you note that those are then saved in a file. If the Department of Education or any other person for that matter, or a school wants to see it, you have it ready and available. Alison asks, Alison has got quite a good question. What is the difference between an IB matric and an NSC matric? I have asked the question, but the answer was that you offer an IB National Senior Certificate. Could you clarify, please? Most happily, Alison. The IB is actually an examination board, and currently in South Africa there are 3. Let's call the Department of Education 1. There's a second one called SACAI, South African Comprehensive Assessment Institute, I think they call themselves. And then there is the IB, Independent Examination Board. Now, all of the exam boards are answering to the accreditation body called Umalusi. Now, you will hear about Umalusi during November and December of each year, where they say they have approved the matric exams, they've approved the results, and now they are ready to release the results and the certificates that follow. So everybody, all of these exam boards answer to Umalusi with regard to the accreditation, standardization, and moderation. Now then, sorry about that. What is the difference between the IB and departmental and SACAI? The difference lies in application of knowledge, problem solving, and critical thinking. If you lay your hands on the final paper of grade 12 for the different exam boards, you will find that 60 to 65% of the IB papers are reliant on application of knowledge and not rote learning. Now, why do we consider that to be good, and why do we align ourselves with that approach towards assessment? The reason for that is exactly what's going to be required of you once you leave school and go into tertiary studies, or once you leave school and go into the workplace. No workplace, no employer will ask of you to please recite the dates that you've just learned in history, or please recite the reasons why you should or should not smoke, or anything else for that matter. But your employer will rely on you to be able to solve a particular problem by using the knowledge that you have gained at school, using the insight that you have gained at school. And that's why we align ourselves with that kind of assessment. I hope I've answered that one, Alison. Again, Rowan has a good question. Would the parents receive feedback on a weekly basis? Rowan, I rely on all of our parents to be nosy parkers, and all the time fish into the learner profile and find out, what is my child supposed to do now? What did they do? Can I please see that marked file? We rely on our parents to be very nosy and to all the time go onto Brain Online and exactly see what the child has done or has not done, and whether what they have done is in line with a weekly or monthly or term-wise work schedule. So yes, you're able to get and receive and can see on a daily basis, if you want to, everything that your child is supposed to do or should do in future. SJ Zona asks, should a student don't do well with online school, how easy is it to reintegrate them back to normal schooling? That is a difficult question, because that relies on the personality and the profile of your child. I don't see academically that there should be an issue, because the curriculum that they do at school and the curriculum that we do is the same. So they will be able to recognize everything once they go back to school, and they should be able to recognize everything in the kind of assessment that we do, having been in school. So I don't foresee a problem in transitioning between the two. I think at the moment, if you now look at everything in South Africa with the lockdown and everything that goes with that, there will be problems with children now having to integrate into an environment at school, which actually is not the one that they were used to. And it's actually an environment which is very unfamiliar, and it could be an environment that they are fearful of with all the regulations that they need to comply with. However, it still remains a very difficult question, but academically, there should not be a problem at all. Sarah says, primary school grade 4 to 7, how is DB and therefore yourselves handling the loss of term 2 teaching and assessment? Sarah, I think all of us has already touched on this aspect. I just wanted to make sure that everybody is on the same page, that we have not changed our academic program. But what we do is, when students enroll with us at this point in time, we exempt them with regard to the assessment for term 1 and term 2. However, we give them all the work and they can revise back as much as they need to. We also give them access to all of the recorded classes so they can revise back, but we advise them to start at the beginning of term 3 and then continue on from there. I think this is about the last one for me, Rosie, and then I'm going to give everybody a breather from my voice. Rowan asked, do you offer art for grade 11 and how would the practical be marked? Rowan, just as a reminder, a minute or 3 ago, I said that what we do is our visual arts teacher is in close contact on WhatsApp and other visual forms with our learners so that they know exactly how to set up their visual diary, and eventually what are the requirements for the art connection, for the art exhibit that they're going to do at the end of the year. Rosie, back to you.
Yes, I see there are some technical questions with regards to what type of computer or laptop should one consider, and then also some questions on the technicalities around Brain Online. So I'm going to start with the computer and laptop specs. We do advise that you invest in it doesn't have to be the fanciest laptop on the market, but a good entry-level laptop with at least 8 gigabytes of RAM and Windows 10. On our website, you will find under quick links, there are software recommendations where we refer to a free Microsoft license that you can get through Mahala. So it's a free Microsoft license, and then we also recommend Windows 10 and Microsoft 365. Now, Windows 10 these days, it is a bit of an investment. You're looking at $2,800 for the entire license, but keep in mind that Windows 10 is the only supported software at the moment. So that is an investment that one has to look at anyway. For Microsoft 365, the license is 900 Rand per year, and then that includes Word, Excel, and all the rest of the software requirements that you would need. For Brain Online, so I hope that answers the questions around laptops. It really is an investment, not for only through the school year, but also going into university to have a solid computer for your child. Then with regards to Brain Online, just want to find that question. It asks about file size. So
I answered that one. Yeah,
did you answer that one?
Yeah, but you can add.
Okay. So we do, when you enroll with us, there are a few free softwares that we advise you download. If your scanned files are too big, the software simply shrinks the size a bit, making it easy to upload onto Brain Online. So we do offer assistance there. And with regards to the rest, Brain Online is an online website, so there's no compatibility issues on any device that you use. Okay, let's see if there are any other questions. Adele, you marked a few with regards to the languages and the classes at which they are represented. Can you please touch base there?
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to answer the one from Susan Adia. She asked about the language in the classes. So we use separate classes, Afrikaans, English for grade 8 and 9s, and then we try to integrate grade 10, 11, and 12, meaning that for 95% of the classes we do separately Afrikaans, English. There are sometimes classes that we do mix a little bit, but it's not as if it will influence students. We do repeat almost everything in the class, and especially when we work with terminology. But when it gets to subjects like mathematics and so, we do have separate Afrikaans and English classes. I think there was another one that also asked about that. I can't find it now. Okay, so all our classes are, and in any case, we do it in both languages, and all of those videos are recorded on the subject page, so students are welcome to go and look at it afterwards. Okay, I think that's it, Rosie.
There are a few questions that you also wanted to answer, Colleen.
I see a question from Natasha. Thank you, Adele. You do this thing and it works on Zoom. Thanks so much. Sign language does it for me. Natasha asked, grade 3, do we need to obtain transfer certificates from the school? Furthermore, do we need to join the Pestalozzi Trust? Or is it advisable? I'm a nosy parent and really loud. Natasha, I love nosy parents because they are educated and informed parents. So yes, they do that. They work well for me. Natasha, right, let's start with transfer certificates. We don't require that, but if you do get one from your school, save it. Keep it on hand. We would not like to have that. It serves no purpose to us. And then she asked, do we need to join the Pestalozzi Trust? Is it advisable? Natasha, I think this year has been a very good year for home education because it really has highlighted to the Department of Education the validity of home education and the need for home education. So I think it will be a sad day if they decide to legislate home education in a way that makes it difficult for parents to exercise their rights to do exactly that. However, what is nice about the Pestalozzi Trust is when we do align with them, when we do become their members, we just make their hand in fighting for the rights for home education so much stronger. So I can clearly state that the issues that homeschool parents have been having with the Department of Education has been very few and far between. But I must also highlight that the stellar work that the Pestalozzi Trust has done in fighting for those rights has been wonderful. So I think you should make it a decision that you should follow your own gut, your own feeling, and align yourself with that. They do really, really good work. All right, let's see if there are others that I have chosen. Adele, there's been one from Mrs. Lange. Please explain the practical aspect of tourism. I think what Mrs. Lange is referring to is they have to actually visit guest houses and B&Bs at this point in time. Mrs. Lange, what we do, and we have permission from the IEB, is to have the students use virtual tours. And on the page of the tourism as a subject 10, 11, and 12, we give them wonderful links that helps them with visiting these sites virtually. So yes, we live in 2020 in a virtual world. This is how we operate. And I think there are wonderful things that they can use from there to be able to complete their tasks well. Gerda, I see you want to answer a few.
There was a question on how involved the parents should be. Maybe I didn't stress that factor enough. For grade 1 to 7, very much involved. Basically, the parent is the teacher. So as said before, we assist the parent to help the child. They need the human factor. They need that somebody next to them to help them to do it practical, to repeat stuff. And it's very difficult to do that with 30 learners speaking all together and not really together via Zoom class. So we do that, but the parent should be very much involved. Actually, the parent is the teacher. Okay, and then there was another one. Hi, we are inquiring for our son that is in grade 6 about the classes, English and Afrikaans, the classes that we have. We split. In English, we have the same lesson for half an hour in Afrikaans, and then we have it in English. So we split the two languages because it's very confusing for the little ones. And then there was another one. How would it work if we had to enroll our son now in grade 6? It's very easy. You do not have to redo everything. I advise parents to, you are in any way you are exempted. The learner is exempted from the exam. They do not have to do the exam. However, the papers, exam papers are available for you to download. The memos will be available. You can mark it and use it as a baseline assessment. So actually you jump in and you start with cycle 3. You can use this. We have an academic recess in a week's time, and you can use the 3 weeks to get up to date and see, maybe do some spot checks, and especially in the maths to see if they have done everything. So yeah, no problem if you enroll now. If you have a report, we can use that and on our system, and we can include it in the year mark. If you don't have a report, we just exclude that marks without the learner being penalized. And because we are also on a CAPS curriculum, the learners did see the work previously, they have done it, so it's not a problem to continue in cycle 3. And in most of the subjects, we are only writing about cycle 3 and 4 lesson material at the end of the year. It basically is Afrikaans, English, and maths that will cover the whole year's work. So there won't be a problem if you decide to enroll now. Thanks.
Thank you, Gerda. Colleen, there are a few that you also wanted to answer.
Yes, let's see. Paul asked, do you provide extra lessons for children struggling with a particular subject? Paul, we don't offer a tutor service. In other words, if I understand correctly what the word tutor means, it means somebody who assists the learner with an quite extensive explanation of a piece of the text or the material or whatever the case may be, or explaining a problem so that they understand it better. We don't offer that as a service. However, there are wonderful tutor companies out there who do offer that. But I always advise parents, when one goes onto the tutor's website and you book or pay for them, they offer you different packages. They might say so much per lesson, so much for 5 lessons, so much for 15 lessons, and they offer you discount for all those different packages. I never advise parents to do that. And the reason for this is a student or a learner should learn and always apply the same principle, that they should not approach a tutor with the words, and Adele, I'm sure you know that they do that. Ek verstaan nie wiskunde nie. I don't understand maths, because then the tutor will just look at them blankly and say, but then my child, neither do I. A learner should always approach a tutor prepared. In other words, I've worked through the material, but this section still gives me problems. I need somebody who can just give me more insight on this and help me to understand that better. So you would book a tutor for the learner on a specific aspect, and not just buy a set of hours per month or per year, because that, according to me, is a total waste of money. The learner should learn to use the tutor economically and be prepared when they do approach the tutor. So, Paul, we don't offer that. However, the learner is still able to email and say, ma'am, this section of the work really gives me difficulty. I've watched the virtual class, but I don't understand. And if the teacher receives more than one email on that aspect, he or she will know that there's an issue and they need to provide the kids with an additional resource. And that's exactly then what they do. So we encourage students to ask the questions, and where we find it necessary, we absolutely will provide extra resources, but we cannot call the learner individually and spend an hour explaining that work. But we will see to it that they do receive the sources and the resources to be able to understand the work as best as they possibly can.
Colleen, maybe I can just add here that when we've done our assessments, the markers that mark the assessments give us feedback after marking. So they also indicate problem areas that they pick up during the assessments. And this is our intervention to see where students are, on what level they are, what they struggle with. And according to that, we can set our next lessons.
Thanks, Adele. I see there's one question from Byron saying, My son has been doing IT at school. He would need to swap to another subject as he does not want to do IT through a third party suggested by Brainline. Would he be able to catch up the subject material he missed to meet assessment criteria by the end of term 3? Byron, that depends on the grade. If it's grade 12, it's going to be really difficult. Grade 11, less difficult. Grade 10, not a problem at all. But if you choose something like, for instance, computer applications technology, in the place of IT, I think then that will be a wise choice to make. So maybe send us an email to info@brainline.com. I usually get that, or Colleen@brainline.com, and then we're able to assist with that one. Right, Corey asks, our kids were born outside of South Africa and we relocated back last year, 2019. They're currently busy with grade 2 and 8. My question, do they need to focus on Afrikaans or will they be exempt from Afrikaans as a subject? Corey, the rule of thumb when learners are exempted from Afrikaans is that they have to be living abroad for at least 2 years. And then, yes, you are able to apply for exemption from Afrikaans. Please write us a mail. We'll put you in contact with Mr. Fred van Eerden. He does the application for exemption, but those exemptions are only asked for from grade 8 and onwards. So depending on what you think should be the focus for your child, it's always good to have a second language and to offer a second language. It might not be Afrikaans, but we can be of assistance even though we don't offer the language. It might be possible for us to liaise with a different school for you to be able to offer a second language. So please talk to us about that. All right, are there any interactions between learners on Zoom and or group projects? Ivan, we used WhatsApp as a means of communication between our learners and parents. And unfortunately, I have to report to you that because of cyberbullying that we don't have that any longer. So unfortunately, we made the decision to supervise contact between parents and learners themselves. And currently, we only have on the subject forums where learners can communicate with us and us with the learners. So if there is an issue, we usually liaise between parents for a specific reason or advertise on behalf of parents for them to be able to have contact with other learners. So the answer in short would be no. Cheryl Lee asks, for exams, do you get a summary of what the student should study for each subject? Cheryl Lee, I think you're talking about demarcations, and that's reliant on the grade. Gerda, maybe you can talk to demarcations in the primary school, and then Gerda can give us an idea of demarcations in the high school.
Yes, for the primary school, we have the work schedule indicates that the work schedule is posted in the beginning of the year. So it indicates the broad spectrum of what is going to be assessed in a certain cycles, test or exams. But nearer to exams, about a week before the time, you will get more specific guidelines. But if we take, for example, languages, you won't be notified that you will have the specific topics of the languages won't be specified. You will know you are doing 3 poems, 3 stories, 2 creative writings, but you won't get the paper as it's going to exactly as it's going to be. So we will indicate you get fractions, but we won't say it's going to be multiplication in fractions or because it's all integrated. So we will get some more specific guidelines, but not to the point that you can basically set your own exam, if I can state it like that.
Yes, for the high school, we also try to give demarcations, but as Gerda also indicated, there's a work schedule giving at the start of the academic year that gives you a breakdown of what topics is covered for each cycle. For some subjects, they do give you demarcation with regards to tasks and smaller tests, because these are more focused on certain topics. But when you get to like a June exam or November exam, there's no demarcation, as it is an integrated assessment and lots of work are being covered. So you would have seen, like for June exams now, we don't necessarily give a demarcation as it covers all the work from cycle 1 and 2. At the end of November also, we go to give demarcation because it covers all the work done from cycle 1 up to the end of cycle 3. But for, say, for instance, a project that you need to do in cycle 3, I give you the demarcation for that specific project because it only entails 2 or 3 specific topics or guidelines to what you need to do.
Okay, Del, thank you. Let's see what other questions do we have. Okay, I think Norma, regards to the additional help in certain subjects, I think we've answered that question, where you would have to get an independent tutor to cover specific topics. Okay, Corey, if we join the beginning of term 4, grade 2 and grade 8, will they be able to complete the grades for this year? Okay. Gerda, if you can talk maybe about grade 2 and then Adele for grade 8.
Yes, Rosie, I think that's where they enroll for report to go rather, and not for the whole year. So you can enroll in the beginning of term 4, but our lesson material is divided into the first 3 terms. So term 4 is a revision, seen as a term for revision. So you are welcome to enroll, and if the learner, I suppose the learner has her own lesson material, then you don't have to take our lesson material, and then you only enroll for report to go when you enroll in term 4. So actually the learner comes with everything she knows, and you do the assessment. If you wish to take the e-reader with all the lesson material that we have, you are more than welcome. However, the learner would not be able to work through cycle 1, 2, 3, the whole entire year's work when starting at the beginning of cycle 4, because that's in October, I think, and we are starting the end of the year assessment at the end of October. So she won't be able to work through the lesson material, but she can do the assessment.
Yes, and I think the same applies for grade 8. We also have that report to go option for grade 8, which is only the final examination, which means that you can use any study material throughout the year and then write the formal exam at the end of the year to get the final report. Okay, then, there was a question that I wanted to answer. The panelists are very quick, so I think they dismissed my answer.
I think you wanted to answer the one about the 3 children and 1 laptop.
Yes, what was the answer there? I just want to make sure that you answered it correctly.
I typed to and I answered it. It depends on how well they share. Whether they are the kind of kids who can work together on the same laptop. But yes, it's convenient to have one for each, but it's not necessary. One can, with good planning, share it very well, because of the fact that Brainline is not structured in a way where every child sits down and is glued to a screen. So yes, with good planning, one can share. So if you would like to view the virtual classes, then of course, that person would of course get preference for that hour or half an hour for that virtual class, and everybody has to wait until he or she is done. But yes, my answer would be, it depends on how well they share. But if you have the funds to have a computer for each one, then I'd rather say prioritize the larger grades or the older grades for each one. And then for the younger ones, they can share with mom's supervision when and how they need to.
Maybe Colleen, can add here, I've been privileged to have several twins and actually triplets in my math literacy classes, and they do find the means to watch the same class. Because our platform is so versatile, it can be done on a smartphone, on an iPad. So if they've got a smartphone, the one can today watch it on the smartphone, and tomorrow the other one watch it on the smartphone. So they will find the means to share the lesson if needed. And you will also find that for the smaller kids, they can easily share. I take my two, for example, they share quickly if they see there's only one. So I don't think it's an obstacle that cannot be overcome easily.
Rosie, maybe I could then just add on what Ivan asked. What exactly is the function of a branch office? What sort of remote assistance do they get? Ivan, our branch offices are primarily examination centers, but during non-lockdown periods, it's also a walk-in center for assistance to all our clients. And it's also a place where our learners can write the final end of term exams or tests. They can book and they can write there. They can book and write the practical exams with us. So our branches under non-lockdown circumstances are direct centers where our clients can actually go for whatever they require. Rosie, that's all my questions.
Yes, there's one from Byron about the scientific experiments.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Byron, for science experiments, you ask, would it be possible to get a list of material equipment requirements in advance so that our son may participate practically during virtual experiments? Are there safety legal restrictions in this regard? Yes, Byron, there are. Even simple things like if you think about iodine that we commonly use to disinfect a small wound, even that can have health issues because some people are very, very, very allergic to iodine, and that can have an adverse effect. Some of the acids and bases that we consider to be simple, such as vinegar, if that gets into your eye, that can be quite serious. Baking soda, and all of those things. So especially in the lower grades, we prefer that you don't go out and buy all sorts of chemicals to do virtual experiments unless you know what you're doing. Of course, if you've got the background and you can guide your children, you're most welcome. But we don't really advise that. And we use in grade 10 and 11 and 12, we use virtual experiments. You will find that those virtual experiments become quite expensive to do. Some of them are, for example, a titration where you've got to have a burette and you've got to have an Erlenmeyer flask, and then you've got to have the acid and the base, and the one is titrated against the other one until a neutral pH is reached. But even purchasing those are quite expensive. I think an Erlenmeyer flask is in excess of 15 Rand, up to between 15 and 30 Rand each, especially if you buy the better quality ones with the proper borosilicate glass and all of those. So yes, you can do that if you want to, but I think it's a lot of money that you're going to spend, and you may be using it once or twice. So doing the virtual experiment by itself is always safer and actually quite a lot of fun to do.
Okay, thank you, Colleen. Adele just asked me if there's an option for classes only. We were talking about the report to go option, which is the final exam at the end of the year for grade 1 to 11. And then there is the classes only option. If you go to our website and you go to products, there's a link called Cloud School Classes. And when you subscribe there, you will get access to the live and the recorded classes throughout the year, and it's a monthly subscription. So I will post that link for all the attendees so that they can also see that. Okay.
All right. Then there's one more from Leon, and Leon asks, where are your centers? Leon, I'm going to quickly go to our website, brainline.com. And if you click on our website on contact, I'm going to share the screen with you quickly so that you can see without a lot of trouble. That is our website. And if you go onto our website, you will see, if you click on contact, you will be able to scroll down and you will find not only our phone number, you will find a general email address, and then you will find all of our branches. There's Brainline in Montana. That's our biggest, that's our head office, and we can accommodate around 450 grade 12s matriculants writing their final exams. Then we have Brainline Woodmead. We can accommodate almost 90 students writing there. However, please, all of these numbers are ex-lockdown particulars. These days we have to qualify that. At Stellenbosch, we can accommodate around 200 of grade 12s writing their finals. In Umhlanga, almost in the same region. So we have got 1, 2, 3, 4 branches at the moment. All right, so that is Leon with that one. Soraya asks, for children currently in public school, what adjustments in understanding of new ways of work, tests and exam results can we expect moving to the IB? Soraya, as they grow older in the higher grades, I think what you will find is, I consider that to be an advantage, but it depends on the child. I think relying on rote learning, relying on memory is a very bad thing, because you're actually just testing the memory of the child. You're not actually testing whether they can use the knowledge that they've actually gained. So that's the biggest thing that you can find is different to a public school, is the application of knowledge and insights and critical thinking and problem solving. And I think that's where you'll find the greatest difference when you get to the tasks, the tests and assignments. We expect that, we expect a whole lot more with regard to insight from the learners. But again, as I said, I consider that to be an advantage, to be able to argue about something, to figure something out for yourself, and in that way to be able to solve a problem. Ivan asks, Gerda, and this is maybe one that you can answer. Cloud school classes only for grade 8. What will be expanded to, will that be expanded to the lower grades? Your philosophy on that?
Being a teacher for about 30 years, the human factor is very, very important. As I said previously, I had a class this morning myself. I presented an Afrikaans class for the English learner, and they have to engage, they have to respond. It's not, they can't sit still the whole time and just listen to me. I know in the high school they also ask, they can also ask questions, but it's a lot different. It might be 1 or 2 or 6 learners having a question at different times. In this morning's class, I will say a sentence and then they have to repeat it, or I will be reading with them. So there's a lot of noise when they respond. It's doable, but it can't be done the whole day, and that's the only response they can have is between a screen and the teacher on the other side. You have to sit with a child and you have to explain it. And I can see how they are losing interest, not interest in the lesson, but start fiddling with something, because I keep an eye on them, and I try to get everybody's attention the whole time, but it's just not possible, because now in a class situation, I can slowly walk through the class and just touch a child on his shoulder when he's not giving attention at the moment. But in an online situation, I have to speak to him and say, hey, Peter, please listen. And I don't want to do that. So, and we have attention learners with ADHD, and a screen for them is a very difficult thing. It's really your learner that's driven in the primary school, that's a driven learner that knows what it's all about, that can sit in front of the screen 24/7 and take in. There's a lot of interaction in the primary school. Yesterday's class, they had to jump up and down, and they had to sit on the floor, and then they had to repeat stuff I say. So yes, we do address certain topics, but it seems as if we are mostly rather assisting the parent in helping their child as teaching the primary school learner. So we also had the lesson on map work in the beginning of the year in geography, because parents and children battled with that. And then you can view it later, you can do the online class, it doesn't matter. But yes, no, we can't be the teacher for a child for 5 hours a day. So we can look at extending our classes, but we won't be able to replace the parent in all.
Thank you, Gerda. I think that's a very sound philosophy to have as homeschooling parents. We are the primary educators of our children, and it's quite important to understand that virtually we can never take the place of the parent in home education in the lower grades. All right, Shirley asked, would you say that e-schooling is harder than normal school? Shirley, that's a very difficult question. Is it harder for the child, or is it harder for the parent? It's a very difficult question to ask because it does take a lot from you, and that's a big but. I think one draws strength from the conviction of your decision, and that's why it becomes easy. If you decide home education and e-schooling is what I'm going to do, you make it work because you know it's in the best interest of your child. You may have various reasons why you chose home education, and lockdown might just be one of several of those. And it's a phenomenon that we find that, but we're not surprised by it, where parents say, actually, my child is actually now doing so well in home education, we're not going to go back. I'm not going to send my child back to school. So it works well for many parents, but it has to fit within your lifestyle. You've got to make it work for your lifestyle for it to be successful. It is not a paint by numbers. Now I've enrolled with Brainline and now everything is going to work and it's going to be roses and perfume all day. No, that's not it. It is going to be harder times. It's going to be taking a lot of discipline from your side. But what I can advise parents is stick to your guns. If you decide this is what we're going to do, we're going to get up and by 8 we will be ready in the morning and we're going to work until 1 o'clock. Stick to your guns. Don't divert, because children are creatures of habit. They find stability and peace in habits and in patterns and in routines, especially the smaller ones. Don't forget about the older ones. If you say 8 o'clock in the morning, don't quickly now go to 8:30 because you feel like it or whatever the case may be. They will, if you give them the pinky, they will grab the whole hand because they remain children until they are no longer children. So therefore, I always advise parents, stick to your guns, decide this is what we're going to do, and you relentlessly just keep walking and promise me you will reap the wonderful harvest. It will be, in the end, something that you will look back on and that you will be grateful that you've made this decision because you will see the results in your children. Also, Shirley asked, am I obligated to do every online video class or is it optional to attend? Shirley, I always advise that you attend every class, but remember now, you don't need to religiously stick to the live classes. We record all of them and you can come back when you're good and ready. So when you have the time and when you can fit it into your schedule, that's when you go and that's when you attend the class. And that's all from me.
Okay, I see there's just another question coming in.
Okay, Ivan asked, I do not quite get the answer to my question. What is the difference between the cloud classes compared to the standard IB enrollment? Ivan, it is the following. The classes are just, the cloud school classes are just the cloud school classes as a separate product. You get not access to the tasks and assignments and nor do we mark them. maybe I should just quickly do a quick, Rosie, if you will allow me, I'm going to open the website quickly and just maybe show everybody what the differences between the products are. There we go. Right. If you click on the products button there, it gives you access to all of these different links. Now, Ivan, you spoke probably about the Cloud School classes. Now, the Cloud School classes is just the virtual classes. Whereas our other products, if you, for instance, go to, for argument's sake, go to, let's say, grade 10, you will find these different products, which actually is the complete product as a whole. If you start by looking at the IB aligned, you will find you get academic support and guidelines, daily and weekly virtual classes, complete scheduled tasks, tests and exams to be marked by us, in other words, our subject specialists, and you receive the progress reports as well as a valid academic record. So this is almost, let's say, the platinum all-encompassing complete virtual school. If you decide that this is not what you want, you only want the assessment, you don't need the classes, you want the assessment only, and you're going to use that to evaluate the progress of your own child, then probably you would be interested in the Brainline Express, because that, if you look at that, says it doesn't have timelines, as would be the first IB aligned. It doesn't have, you don't need regular internet access. You're going to download it once and use it throughout the year. And there are no classes, but it still enables you to fulfill the legal requirements with regard to assessment for that year. And then it allows you, if you add on the Brainline report at the end of the year, it allows you also to obtain a report. Note that this is not available for grade 12. For grade 12, you've got to do the full IB aligned. Right, I think that is in summary what I wanted to show you. If you then compare that with what you discussed on the Cloud School classes, and that as a separate product all by itself, you will see that there are a number of classes per subject per month in each of those grades, and you can select the subjects as and how you wish. But then those are only the virtual classes. Thanks, Rosie. Over to you.
Okay, it seems that we do not have any more questions. I'll just give another second and just remind everyone that all of these sessions are recorded and is stored on our website. You can go to brainline.com and then under quick links, there's a link, Why Brainline, and I'm just going to post that to everyone on the chat if they'd want to either book for next week's session or then watch any of the previous recorded sessions, including today's, which will be available by the end of today. Okay, I think if there are no more questions, you're welcome to contact us at any time at info@brainline.com, or for any quotations or enrollment queries, please email me at finance@brainline.com. Adele, our high school coordinator, is adele@brainline.com, and Gerda for junior school is gerda@brainline.com. Simple and easy. Thank you for joining the session, and we look forward to you joining the Brainline family. Have a good day.